anti-government demos. Findings of a survey is showing this and is tucked away on page 5 of today's publication. Botswana's Letshego defaults on Kenya-Uganda loans. Botswana-based lender Letshego Holdings has defaulted on a 3.9 billion shillings loan for its Kenya and Uganda subsidiaries and trimmed 142 jobs. You have a story on page 8 of the publication. Foreign currency loans deposits fall by 505 billion shillings. The value of foreign currency loans and deposits held in local banks fell by 504.9 billion shillings in 3 months ended March. That is a story also inside the publication as well. We cross over to Tanzania, where Bank of Tanzania is seeking record 6 tons of gold. It says it will be the biggest amount by far since the government began buying the precious metal from small, medium and large-scale miners as part of efforts to diversify the country's foreign exchange reserves and reduce reliance on a single currency. That is on page 2 of the publication today. On also why Tanzania remains attractive for European Investment Bank. You have a story also inside on page 4. And also what LATRA's new bus tracking system means on page 2 of the publication today. Manu Ban Samir's picture found guilty on another charge. That is on page 3 of a Citizen this morning. Daily Monitor in Uganda, ministers see stars at U.S. Independence feat. Diplomatic incident, Ugandan ministers invited to the Independence Party at the U.S. Embassy in Kampala are reduced to spectators after they were not given a chance to address the audience, as is the norm with diplomatic events. And you can follow the story inside the publication today. But they have to go. And let where they are, all right, as some of the policies from the U.S. as well. This is the Daily Monitor in Uganda. You can grab a copy for yourself. It says also N&M commitments to Uganda's economic transformation. There's a supplement there also inside the publication. Top 16 pro-people initiatives that transformed Rwanda. The government drew on Rwandan culture and traditions to accelerate growth. And that is a story you want to follow on page 4 and 5 of the New Times. Kagame urges youth to protect and defend the country. And you can see him here inspecting a parade during the celebrations of the 30th anniversary of Liberation Day at the newly revamped Amahoro Stadium on Thursday. Addressing over 40,000 delegates, Kagame urged youth to protect and defend the country and make it prosperous inside. Page 2 is where you can follow the story. The East Africa this week, it is no compromise as a splash. You will never have a military base on our shores. Somalia President Hassan Sheikh Mohammed tells Ethiopia, which accuses of bad faith. He's also putting Shabab on notice as the AU mission winds up. And this is a story on page 8 and 9 of the publication today. Wave against more taxes sweeps EA, that is East Africa, and why Ugandan family is now smaller, according to a new census there that, of course, was carried out recently. Count shows that the average household has been shrinking over the past 30 years. And that is a story you want to follow on page 5 of the publication. The Economist, lastly, we have France's center cannot hold. We know about the snap elections there. What to expect from a second Biden term? Can countries get rich from services? China's big chance to change, making heavy weather of hot weather, is also inside the publication. Newsweek, tipping point, why judges are speaking out against the Supreme Court, is what is on the front page of the Newsweek as well. And China Daily, strong ties to deepen, get broader scope. This is China Daily. You can follow the story inside the publication today. All right, we have the editorial cartoons, and this is where I will rope in our panelists as well. We are holding court with Professor Arap-Kirwa, who is a governance and policy analyst. We are having also Barak Muluka. Dr. Barak Muluka is a strategic communications advisor. We have Jonah Kindiki as well with us, governance and policy analyst. Also, we do have Dr. Martin Olo, who's an advocate of the High Court and also head of Department School of Law, Leicester University. We just want to begin with Kipruto Arap-Kirwa. Senate then and Senate now, right? We can see Senate then looking at that tower, or the clock tower there. We have the constitution or unpopular bills being crammed down their throats. They never spoke while this was done. But right now, there is a hue and cry in the country. We have the crocodile tears. This is the Senate now. And people are saying this is the height of and the epitome of hypocrisy. Is now they're furious on some of the issues that they've always had the floor to execute and interrogate as well. But now is all crocodile tears. Is it for political survival, expediency, in light of what the country is facing? Let's begin with you quickly, just to decipher this, not very elaborately, but very, very pithy and task, so that we can get rounds of it and begin the show.
Yeah.
What do you see? What do you see from the picture?
I see a number of things. One, listening to the leader of majority in the Senate, the senator for Kericho, Aaron Cheruyot, it was very clear that he had a clear script that we must diffuse the tension that was already in the country. And as a way of diffusing, identify areas of weaknesses so as to be able to see the reaction from those who have been agitating for removal of the current regime. In that way, they were able to read the pulse rate of the nation and provide possibly ventilation for members who hitherto have not been able to say a lot of things with courage, more so those from Kenya Kwanza. But some of the senators that I listened to, and I think they are consistent with their own, with the story, is Senator Boni Halwale, who made it very clear from the beginning, and he had already done it in Abokolo and elsewhere, that the situation in the country needs a lot of attention from the president and from the leadership of Kenya Kwanza in order to allow the public, the Kenyan public, to feel that the leadership that they have deserves their stay in power.
Thank you.
For the balance of the period.
Thank you. Barak, what do you decipher from that editorial cartoon?
Well, we see it's a depiction, of course, as you say, of crocodile tears. They say that as the crocodile eats you up, it's also shedding tears. It's almost like saying, I'm not happy to be eating you up, but it eats you up all the same. However, I do agree that we cannot collectivize all the senators and speak about them in one idiom. There are senators who have been very consistent, and certainly the Kakamega senator has been consistent both on the floor of the House and away from the floor. We can talk also of across the floor, Senators Kajwang, Senator Sifuna, they came out quite clearly, and they have been consistent with that script. The Kericho senator, it's probably a curtain raiser to things to come. It could be a way of sounding the bugle, if you so wish to say, for those about whom I've seen the headline, the Standard, that something could be in the offing within the cabinet. It could be floating of balloons to see what's going to happen, but it could also be a wake-up moment. I think I'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt and say the last word in the fullness of time.
Fantastic. All right, let's hear from Professor Jonah Kindiki. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Ndibar. For me, I think from both sides, I think they are right, depending on the premise on what they held there before and now. And according to that cartoon, I think that some of the senators have taken a long time to believe what was going on in the country. And sometimes people may live in denial, which may not be very, very, very useful. But I think we have to forgive them, because if they have understood the situation which is happening in the country, and now they see things the way they are in reality, and they are no longer in denial, I think it's a way forward and a way of healing the country from what has been happening in the last 2 weeks, particularly with the young generation, the Gen Zs, because they have been hearing their views. And I think it has maybe taken some of them time to believe, but now I think we are healing as a country going forward. And you look at the changes that may occur, maybe for the good for all of us. And I think this is the way to go. And I believe that our country will be stable. Our country will be, in the right political situation and in terms of development as we go forward. So I think it's the process of, believing, trusting, and internalizing issues and the challenges that were affecting the country that has taken for some of them too long to believe. And now we are almost reading in the same script going forward, I think there will be a solution to all these things that have been affecting our country.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Martin Olo, good morning.
Good morning, Dibal, and glad to be here. Mm-hmm. It's a good morning.
Today you don't have your farmer's cap.
No. Today I'm trying to turn down.
Also there was a farmers' protest that they were putting that. Not here in the country, of course.
Not in the country. On the issue of the Senate, I think we need to give credit where it's due.
Start by deciphering the
yes,
talkative.
And then that's why I want to be that if you look at what Honorable Cherargei has been saying and what he said in the House of Parliament, his disagreement with Murkomen was on the same issues he was talking about, the opulence and display of arrogance and get rich quickly. I think Cherargei has been on record on that. And there is, as a young senator who has been crystal clear, her name is Crystal Asigi, and she's been crystal clear on issues. And you need to listen to her. She's young, she's sharp, intelligent, and well-read. She's with issues, and listening to her is very refreshing. She connects with the Gen Z issues and able to help us see where the gaps are between the Gen Zs, the legislature, and the executive. So it's not all about crocodile tears in the Senate. There are some crocodile tears, but it's not all about crocodile tears. And let's also get it that when it comes to accountability or it comes to checks and balances, Senate has always suffered disdain, suffered neglect from the National Assembly. And part of the problems we're having is a National Assembly that is a runaway assembly without any regard for checks on itself. Because what each institution ought to be seeing is a need for it to check itself. So anything that, for example, the finance bill, much as the law says that the money bills will be originated in the National Assembly, the money bills we are talking about in terms of finance bill has both county and national implications. And of necessity, there should be decorum to allow a conversation jointly between the National Assembly and the Senate. So it's not all about crocodile tears. There are some crocodile tears, right? But there is also some national gripe, national issues that have been around us for a while between the Senate and the National Assembly.
But we can tease out some of the crocodile tails that have been shared, or some of the silent issues that have been there, that we know they're big ticket issues, like the position of the CSs. Yeah, they've been given, they have the floor for the longest time. We've been having this debate. They've never been vocalized as we've seen them doing. The positions that are unconstitutional, like the Prime Cabinet Secretary's office, that funding also, hefty funding is going towards that direction as well. That has been a big ticket issue in the country. They've been mealy-mouthed for the longest time.
And they were muzzled.
So how are they muzzled? They have, or the voters have been having this particular flow. Yes. But right now is where we can see the angst on this particular issue. So those are some of the issues you can say, and it would be unfair for us, or for me also, to put it that we have this broad toothbrush that is stroking on all the legislators. Some of them have been vocal on these issues, but of some of the issues that are there, they've been there for donkey years, so to speak, but they've never spoken about it. Why now? Why is it the providential time? I think it's Kirwa.
I think, Dibal, first of all, I'm not a lawyer and I don't pretend to be one, but as a consumer of the law, I do understand, and having been a legislator trying to interpret the laws, the architecture of our National Assembly and the Senate is ill-equipped in the sense that those who were designing the Senate were largely members of parliament at that time. And they're this myopic thinking that we cannot have a house above them. Though most of them, like Senator, the then Senator for Meru, Senator for Kisumu and so forth, ended up going to the Senate. But they went to a house that they had not equipped with the requisite capacity to be able to process some of the decisions in a more sober way, given the fact that largely most of the senators are senior politicians. Why do I say that? I say that because look at the vetting of all officials of government. Look at the budgeting process. Look at many of other considerations that are supposed to be seen to be under the purview of Senate, because this is not the first Senate in the world. There are many other Senates in various jurisdictions or bicameral houses, like the House of Commons and the House of Lords, where even the House of Lords in the UK happens to be above even the Supreme Court. I don't know what the jurisdiction is today, but I remember when I last did a paper, the House of Lords was the last position of reference when there are issues appertaining to the Constitution. But our Senate is a lame duck. It's a Senate that they seem to be looking for things to do other than the issue that, okay, the senator is involved in issues of money that is going to the devolved systems of government, that is to the counties. But they get involved almost at the tail end of all those decisions. They are not involved on day-to-day. Of course, the other issue that they seem to be specializing is trying to almost impeach the governors. An impeachment that has already fallen into a lot of trouble from the court and from the administration of the day itself, such that impeachment has become more of a political process than a process that is informed by technical issues and technical flaws that possibly the governor gets embroiled in. So in a way, they are very brilliant and good senators, the way my colleagues have said. But the Senate has also become an appendage of the executive, just like the National Assembly. This therefore means that some of the senators could not say the things they ought to say, could not do the things they ought to do, because they knew the executive is looking on them, that yes, this ticket that you have is a ticket that, thanks to me, you're able to be elected because I had created the ground that was able to carry you to the Senate. And therefore, you don't owe it to your constituents, you owe it to me. And it was evident even from members of the National Assembly that they are voting what the boss has said, not the people of their constituency. So it is like, in a way, democracy is on the cross. And this democracy, we must take it away from the grip of the executive and allow it to flourish. Otherwise, we'll be blaming individuals, and even if I went to the Senate, I don't think I'll do it differently unless you have to go against the grain.
Could we say also the restraint of the Constitution really bars them to delve in some matters, because they say, of course, this is the purview of the National Assembly, and there has been also some bills that have been raised to seek that complementarity between the National Assembly and the Senate on cross-cutting issues, because they, like the finance bill, that has been a contentious one. And we've seen Okiya Omtatah has moved to the courts challenging that particular, of course, restraining that is in the Constitution, that even if it's a finance bill, it cuts across, because also the counties are really affected there. The appointments should not just be the National Assembly to be the vetting house for these people who are appointed, the cabinet secretaries. It should cut across, because cabinet secretaries, generally, they serve the whole republic at the end of the day. Barak Muluka.
Well, first, there's the law, of course, the Constitution, which has very clearly delineated some of the tasks and responsibilities when it comes to matters of the vetting of people in offices, cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries, and the like. The Constitution is very clear where that rests, and therefore the Senate may not get into that space. Nothing, of course, stops them from ventilating on the appointments or on any other issue for that matter. As we have seen, they have had to take time off to look at the state of the nation and to make their voices to be heard. And that ventilation is very critical in informing the general mood. And it could also influence the decisions and the conduct of business in an informed democratic National Assembly. However, it's been rather clear since the year 2013 when the Senate came into existence, and that separation between the Senate and the National Assembly came into existence, that Parliament has, as a whole, served the role of just basically being an instrument in the hands of the executive. From 2013, we started seeing that Parliament, being both the Senate and the National Assembly, has been whipped at State House, which is very, very different from practice before then. Mheshimiwa Kirwa here has been a member of Parliament, and he may wish to correct me and remind me if yes, a long-serving member of Parliament, and he could correct me if I was wrong, that before 2013, Parliament was never whipped from State House, and State House is a symbol of power, symbol of authority. And when they tell you especially that we are going to be watching very carefully to see how people behave, we want to see who is going to vote against this bill, becomes completely neutered. And therefore the voices that you hear articulating issues on behalf of the people are the voices in the opposition. For the first time, we seem to be seeing the voices on the side of the majority articulating issues on behalf of the people. And I suspect that quite significantly that could have something to do with the way legislators from the National Assembly have been treated in some of the public spaces they have gone to. And so if you are a senator, if you are a member of the National Assembly, you perhaps want to secure yourself in the public space by being public correct.
All right, let's hear from Professor as well.
Yeah, I think in the dispensation we are operating, the new constitution, the roles of senator was spelled out, and I think the major role of Senate is really to debate on bills that affects the counties, and the major role actually is the purpose of it is to give the overall oversight of the devolved governments, especially the counties. And therefore, you find that the members of parliament or the parliament itself, because these are, MPs who are representing the constituencies, they have the upper hand of, making laws and, debating on bills that are crucial to the counties, and the Senate is seen as a lower house. And I remember when we first entered into the new dispensation, there was a big argument about which is the upper house and which is the lower house, and a lot of arguments. And many people did not, although the constitution is there, they did not read the constitution very well to understand the roles and what really Senate, stands for in the new constitution. And I remember many people thought that even governors, they have they are inferior than senators, because they are the ones who are, of course, making laws on their behalf, and maybe senators can even impeach governors and so forth. So I think in this case, time has come. Maybe we have to rethink about how the two houses operate, because as far as the constitution is concerned, as far as the people are concerned, is that Senate comes maybe the last. And if you look at what they are talking about now, I think they should have, maybe it should have been clearer to them at the beginning than now, talking of things that are, they have already passed. They have already passed them. However, it is not too late for them to speak about it, but I wish it had come a little longer, little earlier than, not a little longer, but earlier than now, because it would have saved the situation. But you see, Debar, you cannot sometimes have peace without really some kind of struggle. And I think, as I said earlier, that maybe there was an element of denial that this thing is not happening. So I think going forward, the issues of Senate and the Parliament, there should be harmonization, because both houses actually, they're there to debate laws that affect the people, the people, whether they're in the county, whether they're in the constituency, whether in the ward.
Indeed.
They are affecting all of us. And I think they should be involved in this kind of discussions across the board.
Right.
Not them to be seen as the lower house and the Parliament is the upper house. But I think that thing can be harmonized to see how the two houses can work together for the benefit of making laws and oversight where is required.
Indeed. I think there was also an attempt by, the National Assembly to come up with a bill, we're calling it the House Bill, right, that will seek now to really harmonize that frosty relationship that has been there between the Senate and the National Assembly. Just one up on this editorial cartoons. Another one in the Standard today is all about the MPs and the salaries as well. As you can see, the distended stomachs there from the MPs. And the SRC salarying, or serving, I should say, their salary increase. And we have the MP saying, no, madam, we didn't ask for it. We don't need it. The effect of the Gen Z power, right? So if it was not in the space that we're in with the Gen Z, this will have easily, sailed through. But in light of what is happening, people were questioning also the sensitivity of SRC. Where is their discernment in reading the seasons and the times that we're in, that you can even float that particular idea or go full steam ahead and seek to raise the pay? I think we'll look at that also much later in the course of the program. And TikTok.
Then I was saying that you didn't give me a chance to speak to the issue.
We will speak. We have more. These are just introductory remarks. TikTok. This is also the time bomb on the Gen Z. As you can see, Ozone has actually tried to put something out of it. And today also is a big day where that particular X space will be utilized to thrash out these particular matters. And Honorable Tamar has been missing in action. As you can see, he's really gagged on Honorable Tamar. And we can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when members of parliament are afraid of the people who elected them. Interesting there by Stano today, right? Honorable Tamar, the MP, is gagged. I think even is not going to the cloakroom.
And there is some white stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Is the cloakroom, is this spilled milk or what?
I don't know. He's doing other things.
Yeah, it seems like other things that we can't say in the morning. People are having breakfast, right? But the probing question is President William Ruto set to trim his cabinet? That's the probing question. Well, KTN can reveal that there are plans for a cabinet shakeup that may see several ministries merged and the number of cabinet secretaries reduced. This as President Ruto held a cabinet meeting on Thursday at State House, Nairobi, where the cabinet was briefed of the security situation in the country following days of riots. KTN's senior political affairs reporter, Daniel Keruki, starts us off.
In one of the longest cabinet meetings chaired by President William Ruto, the protests that have rocked the country in the past 2 weeks took center stage. The meeting was informed that while the riots began as a protest against tax measures proposed in the Finance Bill 2024, they were infiltrated, hijacked, and taken over by criminal and opportunistic political forces. In the meeting, the president said the government must now focus on charting a new future for the country, pointing out that significant changes must be made to align with that new future. And perhaps the president signaling to the CSs of a possible cabinet shakeup in line with the changes. KTN has learned that a cabinet reshuffle could be in the offing. Sources have told KTN News that about 7 cabinet secretaries could have attended last cabinet meeting as President Ruto reconstitutes his government and reduces his cabinet. 7 ministries could be scrapped following the reorganization, which will see certain departments merged and some state corporations disbanded. Multiple sources indicated that prior to the cabinet meeting, the president held a 40-minute meeting with his deputy Rigathi Gachagua before joining the cabinet secretaries. In the new lineup, the proposed dockets are to be reorganized to about 15. Some key ministries will be Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, National Treasury, Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Irrigation, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and ESC, Ministry of Labor and Public Service, Ministry of Affirmative Action and Gender, Ministry for Water, Forest and Environment, Ministry of Tourism, Culture, Youth and Sports, Ministry of Infrastructure, Lands, Housing, Public Works and Roads, Ministry of Economic Planning, MITI, SME, Cooperatives, Delivery Unit, ICT, and the Attorney General. At the same time, 15 principal secretaries may lose their jobs in the new shakeup, which will see merging of various ministries and departments in response to austerity measures announced by President Ruto to tame the runaway wage bill. In the development, 43 parastatus chiefs may be shown the door when their entities are scrapped. Details of parastatus to be rendered moribund will become clear when the president makes the announcement before next week. In his communique released to the media after the meeting, President said the National Treasury is reorganizing the budget to accommodate the new reality, which will include substantial cutting down of budgets to balance between what is to be implemented and what can wait, and ensuring that the key national programs are not affected. His cabinet meeting also came at the backdrop of his intended engagement with Generation Z on X Space Friday. Daniel Kariuki, KTN News, Nairobi.
And Kenya's capital, Nairobi, bounced back to normalcy, contrary to the expected anti-government protests. As watching by KTN News on businesses in the CBD showed some traders had picked up from the ruins brought about by the protests that have left behind massive looting and destruction that nearly saw the country disintegrate into anarchy. However, some businesses remained shut out of fear of being attacked by goons. Our reporter Fred Kagonyi has more.
Kenya's capital, Nairobi, on Thursday sprang back to life compared to the last few days during anti-government protests sparked by the contentious Finance Bill 2024 that sought to introduce punitive taxes. Today, the ghost town that has become synonymous over the last 2 weeks came back to life, though not at the levels we are used to. A spot check on the busy River Road, Kirinyaga Road, Moi Avenue and Tomboya, which are some of Kenya's busiest streets, showed that Kenyans went about their businesses, save for a few locked shops here and there, out of fear there would be protest and their businesses would become a target of goons. For some of the businesses that were operating, these men armed with batons kept watch, saying that they were volunteering since they carry out delivery work for them.
Ile biashara wanatupatianga hapa, wanapatanga biashara kuliko sikia leo. Wanapatanga biashara mingi sana. So, iwapo vitu zao zitaibiwa, which means pia mimi nitakosa kazi.
So, maandamano ni sawa, vijana wa Gen Z, hata mimi ni Gen Z, tunakubaliana na hiyo maneno, lakini sasa ikifika story ya tunachoma place, tunafanya nini? Hiyo manzi hatuwezi kubali.
For Doreen, if the men who are protecting businesses had been near her kiosk, she may not be counting more than 40,000 shillings in losses after it was touched on Tuesday.
Nikaona tu kitu imeakishwa moto. Sikuwa na otherwise. Kuangalia tu ichomeke ikaisha. Najaribu at least nipate. Unaona hakuna ni box tunatumia.
Her customers now have to make do with the makeshift seats as they seek to support her to resume normal operations.
Tunaweza sauli president wetu kwa uwezo, kama anaweza kwa uwezo wake, asauliane na hawa vijana wasikize venye wanataka, kutoka hapo maisha iendelee kawaida. Hii kukimbizana usiku na mchana kila siku kwa wiki siku 2 siku 3 si mzuri.
Moving forward, kama ni maandamano, kama ni kulia maisha ni ngumu, wacha tuseme maisha ni ngumu na tufanye ile peaceful demonstrations. Lakini hivi wase wanatake advantage ni maandamano, wanaanza kuharibu mali, kuharibu vitu za wenyewe, hiyo naye hapana.
This man says all he has was almost taken away by the goons who had threatened to kill him and torch his motorcycle, and is now calling for order.
Yaani raia anapigwa, anatandikwa bwana, raia na polisi yako pale na anajionea. Mbona? Si ni wakuje watusaidie, hata sisi tushikane mkono, tusaidie Kenya na tuishi vizuri.
Wenye wanateka advantage kwa hii maandamano kuimbia watu, by hiyo si fiti. Kila mtu ana struggle kutafuta hizi pesa.
For now, it remains to be seen if the proposed X space between President William Ruto and Gen Z will bear fruits, and also if police officers will go after the goons and bring them to book. Fred Kagonye, KT News, Nairobi.
Now the biggest headache the government is currently having is cutting down the entire wage bill to about 35% of its budget. Most Kenyans are particularly targeting to have MPs reduce their salaries from the current 725,000 shillings to about 200,000 shillings, going by the demands of the Gen Zs. But just what are their entire salaries and allowances? Our reporter Grace Nyanga breaks down what honorable MPs take home.
With President William Ruto disclosing that 1.1 trillion shillings of the 2.2 trillion shillings revenues collected every year goes towards paying salaries and allowances, there are increasing calls for the entire government and especially Parliament to cut down on their expenditure. MPs' salaries have increased by 39% in the last 7 years, up from 532,000 they used to earn in 2018. Currently, they earn 725,000 shillings. But what is entailed in their gross salary? In this report, I break down the privileges and funds, some of which are regarded as unnecessary allocations in Parliament. Apart from their hefty salaries, MPs and senators are paid per sitting in committees and plenary, the amount ranging from chairpersons to members. Chairpersons of committees receive 15,000 shillings for every sitting. The vice chairs takes home 12,000 shillings, whereas members are paid 7,500 shillings. In this case, with 67 standing committees in Parliament, and number of members varying from each committee, hundreds of millions of shillings are used in the sittings alone. Besides the sitting allowance, the MPs also receive housing allowance to help cover the cost of a place to live, rent or mortgage worth 150,000 shillings, with a loan of up to 35 million shillings to purchase a house at an interest rate of 3% per year. They also have commuter allowances to cater for transport. The legislators have mileage claim, where MPs are reimbursed for one return journey per week from the National Assembly to their homes. Still on commuter allowances, Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna shocked the country when he revealed that he had 377,000 balance on his ETC card, which is paid yearly for the use of the expressway.
When I became the Deputy Minority Whip, I was allocated a vehicle, a GK vehicle. On the first day that I used that car to go home, I passed through the expressway. I was shocked, Honorable Speaker, at the amount of money that is on my ETC card for my parliamentary car. As of this morning, when I used that same car to come here, there is 377,000 Kenyan shillings on my ETC.
This means that if the amount is paid to all leaders of parliament, including the two speakers of the National Assembly and the Senate, and their deputies, majority and minority leaders from both houses, their deputies, whips, then Kenyans could be paying over 5.4 million shillings for the use of expressway alone. MPs also enjoy car maintenance allowance at 356,000 shillings per month. A total of 124 million for all 349 MPs. And they can access a car loan of up to 8 million shillings to purchase a car at an interest rate of only 3% per year. Further, MPs are privileged to have motor vehicle reimbursement to purchase a car, to undertake official duties worth 7.5 million shillings. Other allowances enjoyed by MPs is airtime allowance worth 15,000 shillings per month, and medical benefits where the spouses up to 5 of the dependents' children under 25 years of age are covered with an inpatient cover of a maximum of 10 million shillings. They also enjoy an outpatient cover of a maximum limit of 300,000 shillings, maternity cover of a maximum limit of 150,000 shillings, dental and optical coverage of 100,000 shillings. This, as some legislators criticize their colleagues for showing off their lavish lifestyle.
Would an MP be able to donate 20 million shillings at a Harambe? He was very offended. In another function, I saw a minister of this government carrying a white bag, on the back like this, and started announcing how many millions are in that bag. Said, Moja.
In his declaration of implementing austerity measures, eyes are now on President William Ruto to see what will be affected in his target to reduce the wage bill to 35%, Parliament being just one of the highly paid institutions. Grace Nganga, KT News, Nairobi.
And you'll wonder why the distended stomachs there after seeing all those parks. And of course, this was bound to increase. I think this is why the country says, oh, these MPs are some of the highly paid in the world. We'll take a short break. When we circle back, we shall be looking at these issues as well and more. And we interrogate with them. I wonder if Honorable Kipruto Rapkirwa is ruining the day that he never came back maybe to be an MP. During your time looking at the parks and now, diametrically different, isn't it?
Well,
yeah, just briefly, we're taking a short break.
Slightly
different?
Yes,
okay.
different, yeah.
We'll take a short break. You're watching Wongozi today here on Morning Prime.